Hello everyone, Mo here. I just wanted to ask for a favor. If you've been listening to this podcast for a while, or even if you're just new, would you consider nominating the podcast for the ABFA Diaspora Podcast of the Year? The link to how to get that done is going to be in the show notes for this episode. It's less than 5 minutes to do this. We have all the resources tagged. There's a Google folder that has all of the materials you need to complete the nomination in just 4 easy steps. Please consider doing that. It's going to mean a lot to us. It will increase more visibility for the podcast, and we can do more stuff with that. Please consider nominating the podcast for the Diaspora Podcast of the Year. In any event, now enjoy the show. Welcome back, everyone. This is Mo from the Sibyl podcast, and I'm super excited to be here today with you. And I don't know when this episode is going to come up, but just in case, how's your year going? This is 2024. Today, I am delighted to introduce our esteemed guest on the show. He was born in Zambia and was raised in Edinburgh, Scotland. He's a remarkable individual who has embarked on a journey that intertwines sport coaching, entrepreneurship, and advocacy against the silent, deadly disease called glaucoma. Despite facing the challenges of vision loss due to glaucoma in 2022, our guest is on a mission to be a beacon of hope, shedding light on the strength of people with disabilities and advocating for awareness about this often misunderstood disease. And before I introduce him, I would like to say just thank you to Chulu of the Africana Woman Podcast for making this introduction. Coach Sydney, please welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much. And thank you for having me. Shout out to Coach Chulu.
Yes.
I'm excited to be here.
Excited to have you. And it's Kamanga, right? Coach Sydney Kamanga.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Coach Sydney Kamanga.
Okay.
Yeah.
By the way, I'll be going to your hometown of Scotland, Edinburgh, Scotland in March. I have a conference there, so I'm going to be going there. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So
I'm jealous.
Let's start from the beginning. Usually that's a good way to start. Can you share more about your journey from growing up in Edinburgh, Scotland, down to Zambia, where you currently live?
Okay, cool. Zambian by birth. So I was born in Zambia and the capital, Lusaka. So, but we moved to the Copper Belt, and Copper Belt has always kind of been home. Grew up, went a couple of schools here and there, but eventually settled at Lettre, which is a trust school. And we were there up until 2003. And in 2003, that was when I was in the 8th grade, we decided to head over to Scotland, to Edinburgh, which is like my second home. Mm-hmm. And I love that place. So we got over to Edinburgh. I left Zambia at the age of 12. And my mom and dad wanted to give us a better life. And bless them because they're my superstars. So they've set the path for us and done amazing things for us. So yeah, we went to Edinburgh and, that's where I grew up and learned the majority of myself really, from 12 up until the age of 21. I done my school from there. As well as that, finished my college from there as well. I done sports coaching with child development. As well as that, I also done fitness training, and I was also a lifeguard as well, certified lifeguard as well. And then due to unforeseen circumstances, it brought us back to Zambia, and we came back to Zambia in 2010. And I've been in Zambia ever since. So when we came back to Zambia, I came back to the Copper Belt, my hometown, as I said before. Mm-hmm. And when I was here, we got thrown into the world of business, so after got thrown into the world of business, we done that for about 7 years. It was a family business. So it was a guest house. So we done that, and that kind of gave me my second passion, which is business. My first passion is always sports. Yeah. I knew that from a very young age. From a very young age, I knew no matter if I don't go to the Olympics, I said I'm going to do something to do with sports. Yeah. So that was always my dream. And then, so that took us to about 2017 when we decided to sell the business and we decided to do other business ventures. Some were successful, some were not, and it's kind of been a life of ups and downs and absolute adversity. That's kind of been my life in a nutshell. Really pick yourself back and go. So went to Lusaka, back to the capital, to pursue work. So after I pursued work, working there for Super Sports United, as well as that also at the gym for a little bit, and then decided to also start my own company, which is K28 Fitness. And that was going really well. Up until, one fateful day in 2022, when I'm walking down the road, and I took a step, seen a little bubble, and I knew something was wrong because it didn't seem right. And I thought, okay, I'll go to work, and then after work tomorrow, I'll definitely go get it checked out. And I was worried, but I said, let me work first. So I'd done work. I went to bed, and little did I know that was the last day I was seeing. And I wish I could go back and just kind of redo it. But yeah, that was the last day I could see, and I went through operation after operation until later on I found it was glaucoma, and it also caused retina detachment in my eyes. And so went to operation February, operation March, and I started to see a little bit, but I could only see lying down. And when I thought things were finally getting better, I had an infection that came about from the operating room, and that caused some havoc in my eye. And I had another operation, so they tried to go in to clean it up, and that was a disaster because I never seen ever since then. That was 22nd of April, 2022. Yeah, so it's kind of brought me to now, where I lost my vision, and it was very surprising because it was very unexpected. It happened very sudden as well. And I spent, and the worst thing is they put me on bed rest. So they put me on bed rest, and they put me on bed rest for a year. So being stuck in bed, I've always, as I said, it's about adversity, right? So I had to pick myself back up again, which wasn't easy because I'm thinking this is scary, and I think when it comes to having a disability, I think a lot of people can testify. Being blind is probably the scariest. It's not the worst, but it's definitely the scariest. But that was scary. But then I managed, with the help of my family and very, very close, friends, I managed to pick myself back. In 2023, I started to, get myself going again, find my feet in the new world. It's like I was reborn. Yeah, so that got me going. Yes, got me going to today, really.
Wow. So much to unpack there. But let's rewind a little bit to the beginning part of it. So from Copper Belt to Edinburgh, Scotland, and then back to Zambia again. What would you say were some of the cultural shifts you experienced, and how do you think they've shaped your perspective on life?
Okay, good question. So, I think growing up in an African country, you always, especially at a young age, learn African values. They kind of get installed in you when you're young. So we always had that, respect your elders. You can't really call an elder by like somebody who's not your family member is always referred to as uncle or auntie. So those kind of things, I think, all across Africa. So we went with that, obviously going to the UK. But going to the UK is a whole different world when you compare it to Africa. Yeah. So that was new. I think we were blessed because I feel kids are a blessing because they can easily adapt. So it didn't take us long to start to adapt, but you have to adapt a lot of things. You have to adapt to the weather, number one, because Scotland is not as cold. And number two, you got to adapt to the language. They speak English, yes, but if you've ever been to Scotland, the Scottish accent takes a while to learn. So you got to understand the lingo as well. Then just the culture. People in the UK grow up very fast. In Africa, you have a lot of people who will stay at their parents' house up until they get married. So it's not a surprise to see somebody who is 29, 30, living with their parents. It's not surprising in Africa. Whereas in the UK, by the age of 16, somebody is out the house, done with school, and they're doing a trade of some sort. So that was interesting because kids grow up very, very fast. I mean, 13-year-olds are out and about in the world, getting up to all sorts of mischief. So that was surprising. But it's a great place because the Scottish are great people. great people. And I wouldn't be who I am if it wasn't for Edinburgh. I think it opens your mind up to such potential to realize that this can easily be done in a place like Africa, because Africa will always be home. And I feel for me, Africa is, out of all the continents of the world, the one with the greatest potential. Yeah. So that kind of installed that dreamer kind of mentality in me to kind of think you can dream and you can create anything. And Africa allows you to do that. Whereas in the UK, as a foreigner, you're only going to ever just work. You know, that's as far as it's ever going to go. Whereas in Africa, you can be whoever you want to be, you know.
So you can say that you learned how to dream in Scotland, but then Africa was where you were able to actualize this dream.
Exactly. Yes.
That's a beautiful perspective. Yeah, that's a beautiful. Thanks for sharing that. So do you go back? When last did you visit Scotland? And do you think you're planning to move back anytime soon? Not that we love you in Africa, wherever you feel best at home. Just curious. Yeah.
I would love to go back. I would definitely love to go back and visit. I haven't been since we came back. Okay. So I miss it. I miss it a lot. So it has been a while. Maybe this will be my 14th year being away. Oh, wow. I still have friends who I talk to. So they, they'll update you, tell you what's going on. But for me, I would physically love to go back because, as I said, it's my second home. I love it. Would I move and leave Africa? To be honest with you,
probably
I love
not.
Africa.
Yeah.
Probably not.
Wow. Thank you for that. So let's talk about glaucoma, right?
Yes.
It's a leading cause of irreversible blindness worldwide. For those listening, there are some facts about glaucoma, and it's affecting over 60 million people. A lot of us think it's an issue for older individuals, but it can actually affect people of all ages, including young adults and children. And it's often called the silent thief of sight because it progresses gradually and the symptoms may not be noticeable until significant vision loss occurs, right? So what are some of the causes of it? There's some factors and conditions that can contribute or even exacerbate the development of glaucoma. One is your intraocular pressure. This is like a pressure within your eye. So this is why you're recommended to go for your eye test once a year to be able to check those pressure, because as they are rising, that could be indicative that the nerve around your eyes might be having some issues. Then age as well. The risk of glaucoma increases with age. This is why we think it's always grandpas and grandmas that have it. Family history is also a risk factor. There's also some studies that have said that individuals of African descent are more prone to develop glaucoma at an earlier age. So race and ethnicity, some medical conditions, even some drugs you're on can increase your intraocular pressure. So medical conditions like diabetes, where you can have retinopathy or hypertension, eye trauma, so from injuries or surgery. If your cornea, which is like the lining of your eye, if it's thinner, that can also predispose you to developing glaucoma. The anatomy of your eye, say for example, the drainage angle where the cornea and your iris meets, depending on how your anatomy of your eye is, that can also increase your risk. And some medications like steroids, long-term use of steroids. So for those that want to buff up on steroids, that can also increase your. And then individuals that have myopia, high myopia, this is not nearsightedness, that can be an increased risk. But since most of these things are not things, there's some things that are modifiable as far as for example, limiting your use of steroids if you can, because I imagine for people that have autoimmune issues, they might have to be on those drugs as a life saving measure. But if you're able to limit your use of steroids and maybe do your eye checkup every year, those are things you can modify. But for the most part, the onset is so sudden. So for you said you were walking, you felt a bubble, and that was it. Were they able to trace it back to find what exactly could have gone on with you?
Well, it's a good question. So when I was back in 2013, when we just came back to Zambia, sometimes you kind of tend to live in a rough area, as you tend to do, and it's kind of like wrong place and wrong time. So I had experienced some blunt force trauma to my head. And I think, to be honest, maybe that was overlooked. And looking back, and now the more research I've done about glaucoma, which is what you said is very well, by the way, you explained it very, very well.
Thank you.
Think that later on could, people just think you get a bump and it's fine, it's okay, we shake it off. But you don't realize the damage that it could be doing inside. So I really wish I knew more about it then, because as you rightly said, if I went for just even a simple checkup a year after a year and see, okay, my pressure is a little bit high, it could have been really caught on early, because that is definitely the first sign to say, hey, it might need to check it out, And as you rightly said, it's a thief of sight, meaning it has no symptoms. It just comes on its own, and it's sadly got no cure,
Wow.
So
Sorry, go ahead, Coach Sydney.
It's a scary one. It's definitely a scary one.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. And I imagine did you wear glasses before? Like, were you one of, so for example, I have to go for eye checkups every year because I wear glasses.
Okay.
Did you ever wear glasses?
Yes, I did. So on your list of what you mentioned, I was like a triple threat, as to say, because I'm on African descent. Number one, I had very bad high myopia, and on top of that, you add the blunt force trauma in there. It was just the rest of people disaster. So yes, I did wear glasses from a very young age. So I think there's a lot of, I wish I knew, because a lot of people who wear glasses are at higher risk.
Yeah, high risk of that. And were you ever checking your eye pressure every time were you going for your yearly checkups? And were they ever checking for your? I see.
No, it's one of those things.
I know, especially in Africa.
You just go. You go when you're sick.
Yeah. It's so true. Because even back home in Nigeria, I hardly used to go for eye checkup. It wasn't even something you did, Dental, maybe once in a while. I forget about it. You could easily just buy your glasses and by yourself without the prescription. So I think this is just not to put any blame on you or anything. I think I'm just trying to think about how we can inform listeners. Of course, some of these things are you can do everything you can do, but then it might still happen. But what are some of the things we can take away as how we can protect ourselves? And I think the biggest thing we've been doing on the podcast is really talking about normalizing health conversations. So I do work in prostate cancer, and one of the things we're seeing in Black men, they don't screen, they don't even go to the doctors for yearly checkups, period. So even to tag on that conversation of prostate health is also like a different kind of conversation. So I think the lesson here is, health is wealth. As best as you can, do your overall wellness checkup. When you take your car to the mechanic, you don't just say, I only want you to check half of my tires, right? It's everything.
Exactly.
Right? So I think that's but I'm so sorry to hear about, just what you've gone through. And I imagine it's been a lot. The eye, as we know, is like the aperture to see everything. So how have you been coping? Especially being Africa is blessed with so many resources. You know that. That said, losing your vision in a place like Africa can be quite scary because, number one, it's not just the internal struggles you're struggling with. You also have to contend because the environment is not modified to even help with physical disabilities. How much more unseen disabilities like yours? Because unless you're wearing a cane or you have, people might not even know because you physically, your physique looks like someone that, I imagine that you look, I wouldn't even know if I walked past you that you had, limited vision, right?
Yes.
So, and then in an environment like Africa where we don't have ramps for those that need them, it's not many places I'm sorry to say Africa, throw the whole of the continent under the bus. We still have a long way to go in being considerate of those with disabilities, is what I'm trying to say. So how have you been coping, by the way, is what I'm trying to ask.
Cool. Good question. And you are right, especially when it comes to Africa. Like, I talk about Zambia. I think, a lot more can be done, number one. But, how am I coping? I do have the use of a cane, but even just that in itself is not an easy thing to get, so it just kind of shows you how much work we got to do. So, getting a cane with a reflector is not easy because you won't find that here. You got to get it from abroad,
How does that work, the reflector? This is the first time I'm hearing. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? Sorry.
Cool. So, it's fairly simple. So my cane kind of folds up so I can hold it in my hand. And then after that, when I just flick it out, it comes out. But, like when you have a reflective jacket. So in case you're like walking at night or it's a bit dark, when the lights shine on it, it lights up. So it's kind of like that. So the whole thing is like reflective. So anyone can see you coming up. So I think that helps as well.
Wow. And how often do you have to, imagine these are very durable medical equipment. How often do you have to, replace them? Are they quite, durable? long
They're
term?
quite durable because, they're pretty durable. They're very strong. So
Okay.
it's not something you'd always constantly have to keep replacing.
Okay. Okay.
I also move around. What's helping me is also like a visual aid, like a partner. So you find, that's more to me because I tend to move faster. What the cane does, it does slow you down. If you're on your own, then definitely use your cane. You know what I mean? But, in a place where, as I said, it's not designed, Africa is not designed for people with a disability.
Yeah.
You need help from a partner. So you find I'll get somebody's elbow and just walk along with them. And they'll kind of tell me, hey, there's a step coming up in 3, 2, 1. And you find, because I've been moving my whole life, so I'm used to walking at a normal pace. So that helped in terms of the visual aid of somebody. As well as that, lastly, to add on, I was blessed by my very good friend to have a phone, which is the BlindShell Classic 2. Which is designed for people who are visually impaired or blind. It's from the Czech Republic. And I was very blessed to have that because that has absolutely changed my life. It's a phone that's, as I said, designed for blind people, and it, gives you back the control. It's a smartphone, but it's something that you can physically touch. And that has changed my life completely.
I notice every time you send a voice note, I always hear navigator.
Yes, that's the same one. That's the same one.
That's amazing. And I mean, this is exciting to hear that you do have some assistance and things that help you modify your environment despite living in Africa. And I want to, go back a little bit. I felt like when I was talking about the modifiable risk factors, there was a part of me that I felt like I was trying to put blame on you and maybe checking up early. And I'm sorry if it came up that way. I just that wasn't my intention, because I'm like, oh, hold on, Mo, what are you doing? It's just I've been very passionate about preventive health, and I didn't want to. Since we're talking about your story, I can see how that would have come up. But please, it wasn't targeted at you in any way, and I apologize if it came up that way. Yeah.
No, don't worry about it whatsoever. Okay. It's okay.
Thank you for being gracious, and for the listeners, please, extend some grace to me. This is just the story, not directed at Coach Sydney. But please go get your health checkup, okay? Not just your eyes, everything, every part of your body. You know how we talk about this on the podcast. So. What are some of the common misconceptions about glaucoma that you've encountered? And I imagine you've gotten a whole earful, because I mean, I'm African, I know, So, and how do you address them, in your advocacy work as best as possible?
Okay. So, some of the misconceptions, first of all, we should start and, we should talk about the elephant in the room. A lot of people in Zambia in particular don't even know what it is. So that in itself kind of shows you we've got a lot of work to do. So, because they don't know what it is, they just kind of think, oh, you're blind. You know what I mean? And it's just job done. You know what I mean? And they leave it at that. And that's all. They don't necessarily want to learn more. They just kind of see you as you're blind. But one thing that we gotta, really look at is a lot of people, you'll be actually very misled to think there's not a lot of people in Zambia without a disability, because everybody is in their homes, and you find it's kind of that kind of saying to say, out of sight, out of mind, kind of just sit in the corner, don't do anything to hurt yourself. And that's it. The outside world is not for you, So, we do have a stigma, sadly, because the more blind people, if you ask an average, who do you know, a blind person, they'll tell you it's probably a beggar standing at the traffic lights. You know what I'm trying to say? And that's the idea people have to kind of think, oh, if you're blind, it's most likely you're probably at the traffic lights begging. But they don't know the other side because everybody's stuck in their homes. So for me, in my advocacy work, I want to show people to say, hey, despite the fact that I have a disability, I can still do things. You know what I mean? So I always tell people, if I can do it, you can do it. And I challenge everybody, not just somebody who has a disability, but somebody who's able-bodied as well, to kind of think, hey, if this person is blind and look at the things he's doing, what am I doing in my life? So that's kind of like for me to show people, number one, that, to get rid of this stigma, number one, to say, hey, we're more than just beggars at the traffic lights. We can actually be contributing members to society. Given the chance, I think anyone with a disability can contribute to society. So that's kind of what I'm advocating about. And number one, as I said before, people got to know what glaucoma is to begin with. You can't fight the enemy if you don't know what the enemy is.
Correct. Especially given the fact that it's the onset is coming insidious. It's not very obvious. And it could be many factors. So you want to try and reduce your risk as much as possible. And spot on, you know, the imagery we have, because even growing up in Nigeria, a lot of our movies, anytime you see somebody by the bus stop begging, it's usually a blind person. And
Exactly.
and then people can also be, they can, because I know in the US here, you can lose your eyesight, but maybe have like maybe a little bit of it, but you're still legally blind. Like being called legally blind in the US has a whole spectrum of definition that I've had to learn. It's not until you've lost everything. Some might even have like maybe clouded vision or, like for example, now my husband is not deemed legally blind, but on his, driver's license, he has a restriction that he has to have his glasses on every time he drives. So if he's pulled over by the cop and they look at his license and he's not having his glasses, he might get into trouble, because whenever he did his eye test, they found out that, okay, this guy cannot read without glasses on. So he has that limitation on. So again, I think educating the public, definitely, that even though people might have, that blindness is a spectrum, right? It's not just one thing, and people can even have eyesight issues, and they might not necessarily mean that they have to end up, you know, being at the bus stop and begging. There could be people you are working with, you know, people that have modified their environment that you don't even know that they're experiencing this issue. I think definitely, advocacy and public education will play a huge role. And thank you so much for reminding us of that, Coach Sydney.
Thank you.
Yeah. Can you just walk us through a day in your life? I mean, Chulu, my friend who introduced me to you, she spoke highly of you. And I think her exact words were, you need to talk to this person. He's amazing. He challenges me. He's a superstar. And I'm like, of course, you know, it's been an honor to like have him on the podcast. And despite all you've gone through, it seems like you haven't even let it hold you back. And this is very encouraging to see. But can you just walk us through a day in your life, especially some of the technologies? So you've talked about the BlindShell Classic too, and other technologies or support systems you have. So when you wake up in the morning, what's your day like, and how have you been able to make it work for you, especially in an emerging country like Zambia?
Okay. So thank you, by the way, especially for Chulu's kind words. I love life. I think, if anything, what this has taught me is, number one, when you're living in your fear, and you realize, wait a minute, I'm not dead. You know what I mean? You realize like, wait, my greatest potential is right on the other side. And I think I climbed the mountain and reached at least I'm definitely on the path to my greatest potential. And you find the reason for living, you know? So for me, that brings me a lot of joy. So, I'm not one to kind of stay down and cry about it. You know, it's sad. Yes, it is, you know, and it sucks. But at the end of the day, let's make something of it. You know, you're not dead. And I believe like I'm a God-fearing person. So I believe God has a reason for everything, you know? So that gives me the motivation. So for me, when I get up, by the way, so my typical day is I get up bright and early in the morning. So, I'll have my alarm set. I get up at 4 a.m. sharp.
What? And, you're one of those morning people. Coach Sydney.
So you see, because I decided. So I decided to stay. I'm like, this is not gonna defeat me. So I was a personal trainer before I could see, and now I can't. And what I've done is I've taken my skills, and now I'm an online personal trainer. So I coach people now over the phone, and that's been a beautiful thing, because now it's kind of giving me an income. I can do work. So a typical day is I'll get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I start doing my workouts. So I'll do some push-ups, squats, and sit-ups. I'll make my bed. So I make my bed all by myself, and by 5 a.m. I'm ready to go. I got my first client, and I have clients back to back on the phone up until about, say 9 o'clock. And then 9 o'clock, I'll jump on the phone. Because of my, of this work and getting more clients, I was even able now to even get a personal assistant. So I got a personal assistant who's working on part-time, where we meet physically twice a week. And I feel that physical meeting is good, because it kind of reminds me of life instead of just being stuck inside. So I'm able to work from there. I'll head into town. My brother will get ready. After that, get a quick shower, get into town. We'll have breakfast, of course. And then get into town, meet my assistant. And, my assistant will help me now in terms of visual. So she'll guide me around, and we have a plan, and we run with it. So as I said, I'm definitely an overachiever. So this year I've got an event that I'm planning, in June. And that's one thing we've been doing. So we go for people, we sit down. The phone, by the way, has been helping me, and she also helped me as well. And I realized, Mo, when I stopped asking myself is how am I going to do this and how am I going to do that? When I stopped asking myself how, and I now started asking who can help me? Who can help me do this and who can help me do that? My whole life changed. Because then I realized I know I'm not going to do it myself, but I know this person who's good at the computers and he can type out all this proposals. Cool. I know that person is good at this. You know what I mean? So now you come now build a network around yourself. So I'll have a guy who will go, my phone will read it to me. I'll tell you, okay, I don't like this line, and he'll change it. When it's ready to go, we go into town, we have it printed, and we go and take it to the places. So we'll walk around. My brother will be so kind to drive us around as well. And so we'll do that all the way up until lunchtime. We'll break off for lunch. And again, continue boots on the ground, walking everywhere until we get about 4:00. And then I'll get back. When I get back now, I run the home. So I have to get all the kids fed. So I live with my daughter, my little sister, and my nephew and my brother. So it's 5 of us. So got to make sure everybody is fed. If my daughter has school, then I help her with her homework. So it's me and her will sit down. It takes a bit longer because obviously you can't see what she's doing, but I make it a practice to say I'm still going to help her. So I help her with her homework. And after that, make sure all the kids are taking their baths. And when they've taken their baths, we'll start to wind down, make sure they've all had dinner as well, and get them to bed. So I always tuck them in, make sure story time is done as well. And then after that, I now to start do some research. And if I need to research, I'll research on YouTube, start to wind down and talk to Google and, hey, so can you set my alarms for the next day and do it all over again the next day?
Wow. First of all, thank you so much for that. And I didn't know you had a daughter. How old is she, by the way?
She is 8. She's my everything.
Oh, that's a fun age. That's a fun age. Wow. Coach Sydney, as you were talking, I was just like, what? I mean, this is a strong man right here. And the irony of it is that there's also vulnerability in your strength, right? And so I'm going to ask this, very obvious question, because you don't find that a lot, especially among our men. Right. And it's a mixture of so many things. As an African man, you're expected to be stalwart and, unmoving and just almost like carry the world on your shoulder. But there was something you said that I picked up so many things from what you just said. You said, when I stopped asking myself how, but asking myself who can help me, I was able to get more stuff done. That to me, speaks to the very heart of just who you are, that even despite, what you've gone through, you're relying on your community. Some might see it as, this is not a manly way of doing things. You do it by yourself. So I'm curious to know, have you always been like this, or it was just by virtue of what you've gone through and just having to sit down with yourself to realize that, you know what? I got an in my community. I cannot do this by myself. But I'm just curious to know, where do you get this strength and vulnerability from?
Well, for me, I've always been like this. I guess I mirrored from my mom. My mom is my hero. And she's somebody who I admire. My mom will do the most. And when I say she'll move mountains just to put a plate on our table for us to eat, I see this, and my mom and dad are such a good tag team together. It's kind of like when you grow up around that, it's infectious. So for me, I'll always be the one in the group where I tell my friends to say, hey, instead of dividing the group, let's work together. Let's do this, let's do that. Because I think each one should one, as they say, you know what I mean? Each one teach one. So for me, I would always be telling my friends, guys, we should talk about generational wealth. In Africa, generational wealth doesn't happen. We should come together as a group, and it should be, we should be trustworthy, and we should get rid of this stigma to say Africans can't trust each other because of our black skin. That's not correct, So I've always been like that, even around my friends, to kind of encourage to say, hey, let's do this, let's do that as a group. And when I got into personal training, it now became a thing where you get close to your clients, and your clients become a part of your life, and it brings out that care inside, because you have to also be sympathetic at the same time, also be encouraging. So that was just kind of down my alley, you know what I mean? So it kind of, I didn't know these were the building blocks like preparing me for this. I think if I didn't have those building blocks and this tragedy happened, I would have been a lot weaker. But when it did happen, the very first thing is, okay, I got my family to lean on. Good. You know what I mean? Now they start to grow, and God is good, because he's put this kind of ease about it, because you worry, right? As I said, it's the scariest disease. It's the scariest condition. You're in the dark every day. So you will be scared. But then when you realize to say, hey, when you walk in a room, it's the same room. It's just the absence of light. It's the exact same room. You know what I mean? But our mind
mm.
is tricks on us to kind of think, oh, wait, but there's a boogeyman under the bed. But when you can control your mind and strengthen that, and I think you'll be amazed what the world will give you back in return.
Wow. I just want to say that I thank you so much for sharing that. You're definitely challenging a lot of the traditional stereotypes, especially for what it means to be an African man. And I guess the encouragement here is that for those who might be navigating similar challenges, there is hope. You don't have to do it alone. And it's not a sign of weakness if you're leaning on your community. Some people actually want to help out. They want to do life together with you. So this could be an opportunity for you to, help with them. But I would like for you to extend a little bit of just encouragement, especially for those that are on the verge of losing their eyesight. Perhaps they're listening to this and it's like, oh my God, this is my story, but I'm almost close and I'm so afraid. I don't know what to do. I don't think I'm going to have this support system that Coach Sydney has. What are some words of encouragement, especially for them to get started for the journey that might lie ahead of them?
Okay, great question. Well, definitely know that, I like to be a realist at the end of the day. Know that the path that's coming is not going to be easy. But at the end of the day, you got to be confident in yourself. You got to know to say, okay, you got to first of all be physically strong to say, okay, this is going to be hard, but at the same time, it is not going to break me. So once you keep telling yourself that it's not going to break you, then that's fine. And now you also got to think now outside the box. You cannot think and hold on to the fact that, I'm going to be a driver the rest of my life. It's gone. But however, the world is changing and people need to wake up and realize the world is online now. So when you're losing your sight and you say, okay, you can't be part of the world is coming to you and it's on the phone. That's just an idea to kind of think, there's so many other things that can be done. And you now got to, instead of you thinking about the bad to say what you're going to lose, think about what you can gain. You know what I'm trying to say? And as you rightly mentioned before, to say you'd be surprised. There's actually a lot of people who are good people in this world who actually want to help. So you got to realize you're going on this, you're not going to be alone. And if you don't have the support system that I have, start to network with the little vision that you have already to grow a community. Because even in that, you may not have anyone around you, but online there's a community that's helping, waiting, to support you. And I'm definitely one of them. So you find I like to smile, I like to tell jokes, and if you can laugh about it, then you're fine, So I like to tell a lot of people to say, hey, I'm the only one who can see in the dark. I tell my kids all the time, I'm the only one who can see in the dark in the house, so it's fine, So, so when you can laugh about it and just realize, say, it's gonna suck. That's the truth. But at the end of the day, as long as you're not dead, your contract of life gets renewed every day, let's keep living and let's keep pushing.
Thank you. I mean, I have a very dark sense of humor. And one of my very close friends who's a psychiatrist, we used to be a host of this podcast, Ayomide, and we know, there's something I always tell him, that I know that I'm coming out of whatever I'm going through once I can start making jokes about it. And sometimes they're not very appropriate jokes, but I get to make that jokes. It's my way of defining my experience. And it's okay if you don't laugh. You might look at me like, what's wrong with this girl, So thanks for that reminder. So, I mean, you seem like a very upbeat person, and you also come off as someone that is quite encouraging. I can imagine that one of your superpowers is encourager, right? But as we know, having a diagnosis of glaucoma can have emotional implications. What was it? When would you say you had it the hardest, and how were you able to overcome that? If you've ever had a very rough time with this, by the way.
I think right at the beginning. Right at the beginning, it's one of those where, you get back from the hospital and you kind of sleep and wake up and realize, this is my life now? You ask that question to think, why? How did this happen? You know what I mean? And then, you kind of like want to do the simplest things that you would, e.g. run to the bathroom and you run into a door. I've done that a couple of times. You run into the door and you kind of think this is going to be hard. And then you now also ask yourselves the questions to think, as a guy, who's going to love me like this? Again, as we've already gone the stereotype of Africa, who's going to love me like this? Who's going to hang out with me? Am I going to, am I still going to have my friends? Yes, you do lose a couple of friends along the way as well. Just again, for reasons to their own, it's fine. Some people just are not strong enough to deal with it. It's okay.
Yeah.
But that was hard. I think when I started to lose everything around me, because I thought I lost everything. I thought I lost all the things I worked so hard to get. I started to lose all the friends that I thought would be my friends forever. And you kind of think this is hard, And that maybe was the time where I really broke down and I really just sat down and I think, am I going to be able to do this? But every day I kept waking up. And I'm like, okay, what are you trying to tell me? And then I realized to say, hey, let's get up. And I think I was so blessed to have like my daughter who looked at me and was like, one thing that was the game changer for me more was when she looked at me and she's still seeing me as daddy. She didn't see anything else apart from her dad. And I was just like, you know what? I can do this. And she just loved me and hugged me. And to this day, she's never seen anything more than just her dad. She understands that I can't see, but at the same time, she still prays and says, one day you will. And that confidence from a little girl is like to say, if she can have that confidence, then I can have that confidence,
Yeah.
And that's what decided. I said, hey, let's do this, let's fight this. And I've been fighting it every day. And now I smile every single day.
Man, you're such an encourager, Coach Sydney. I mean, most people in your situation would just be like, nope, nothing to be excited about. And for good reasons too, right? Because we live in a world that is moving so fast and, with technology and so much to see. And then here you are just encouraging and not just letting it swallow you, but also giving it back to your community, through your personal training, your coaching, your entrepreneurship, and even the life you have with your family, which you've talked about a little bit. I mean, thank you so much. This is just refreshing to hear and see.
Yeah. And you've said something really interesting there to kind of say, with technology moving so fast and you're missing because it's so visual right now. Yes. But what I've realized is there's so many ways you can still see the world without physically seeing the world. You can hear the beautiful sounds. You even know to say, okay, I know what this is. And it's a true story when you lose a sense, your nervous system, like your neural pathways will direct more energy to the other ones. It's just how our brain works in layman's terms. And you find your hearing gets more acute.
Yeah.
You can kind of feel the air is switched here. So you're near an object. You're a lot more attentive as well. So it's just that everybody thinks you can just see the world in one way, but you forget you can feel. Yeah, you can smell it, you can feel it, you can taste it, and so.
I heard it said many times before that once you lose, one of your senses, the other senses kind of overcompensate for it. Would you say that's necessarily true for you?
100%. 100%. Like right now, my hearing and my eyes, like my hearing is golden right now.
Wow.
I can hear really well, and even my hearing can kind of tell me like, okay, you're kind of here, you're kind of there, more or less. I can't walk in a straight line, but I can definitely do okay. If somebody's talking to me, I can walk in a straight line, and my hearing can paint a picture just by knowing to say more left, more right, just by their voice, and you can smell as well. So my smell, my hearing, and my feeling is definite,
Okay.
I'm just waiting for my taste buds to kick in.
I think that would be Scotland to be blamed for that. Sorry.
It is.
Oh, wow. I think let's add some practical tips, right? So I signed up a while back to be one of the people on the other side of Be My Eyes, which is like an app that you can help anyone. So for those that don't know what Be My Eyes is, it's free to sign up. And say, for example, there's a person in another part of the world that is shopping for groceries and they need you to be able to help them read the label. You can just, depending on your hours, if you're available like online or, and then you can help the person read the labels. And it's just a way of giving back. So it helps connect people who need sighted support with volunteers. And it was started by a Danish company, right? We know that, for example, in most African countries, data is a big issue, right? So, which again might preclude individuals living in those countries to be able to have access to this apps and technology, especially for those that might be living in low resource countries, what are some practical support systems? So maybe right now you can talk about some of the things. So you've talked about the BlindShell that you use, the phone you use. Talked about your community, your siblings helping out, your daughter, providing that emotional support. What other community resources do you have? And what other apps or considerations are you using to really help you, make the most of your day?
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I think as well, kind of, I always feel like an idle mind leaves room for a lot of evil to bad thoughts to move around in. So the most is getting you moving. I think even if you're in the community and you don't have access to these apps, I feel everybody in most communities anyways will have like a church. So you can easily be part of the church and maybe be part of the choir, you know what I mean? And you can sing, for example, in that kind of light, maybe you can now start to learn a new trade. So most communities, especially even low income communities, have the basics, you'd be surprised, as I said, your senses get a lot higher. So some of the best tailors in the world are blind. You know what I'm trying to say? So,
the nuns, I read about those nuns, those cloistered nuns, like making delicate fabrics. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you can even start to learn a new skill and start to challenge yourself. Just don't prick your fingers on a thing, but you can still learn those kind of things. So there is what I'm basically getting at is if you cannot afford or manage the higher tech things or even just data bundles, there's some things where you can just keep active. Just keep active, get part of the community groups, and start to really challenge your mind. Because trust me, when your mind is busy, you have no time to kind of think, oh, this sucks. Or should I just do this? Should I do that? Nobody loves me. No, your mind is super busy, and yeah, so I think definitely get involved, start to find ways that you can still contribute, you can still, if your friend is a mechanic, you can hang around by the garage and start to learn the standards, and you can kind of be a handyman where you can assist them. Hey, can I get the 10 spanner? Cool, I got you. So keeping busy is the best way, even if you don't have these resources. And even that in itself will give you up at least for the basic necessities. But I feel as well, despite that, it's also a call on us to continue to advocate, to do good things, like to continue to help where people can, look after themselves.
Yeah. I like what you said, keeping busy. Like one of my teachers in primary school would say, an idle man is the devil's workshop.
Yeah, it is. It definitely is.
Such an African thing to say. Oh, goodness. Those good days. Thank you. Thank you for, sharing all of that. So let's talk about your entrepreneurship side, right? You talked about your family business, you guys having a guest house, and so having able to, I know you're also into entrepreneurship, right? So tell us a little bit about your business model and what you're doing and how we can support as well.
Okay. So right now, I have the fitness company that I've started, so that's going okay and that's going well. So the fitness company right now is mainly targeted at online classes. So the beauty with this is, you can have a client anywhere in the world. And the only factor is just the time. You know what I mean? I'll give you an example. Right now it's 7 and it's, maybe lunchtime, going to lunch to you, and you can still train. You know what I mean? And, 7 is not too late for me to jump on a call and training for an hour. So there's the online training with the fitness company, as well as that. I want to aim to start an NGO. So the NGO is something that's really close to my heart, and that's definitely something I want to do this year, where it can continue to shine a light on glaucoma in Zambia, and take it as far as we can take it. So shine a light on glaucoma, shine a light on people with a disability, and continue to just empower people with a disability to say, hey, you can still do something, and also partner with a lot of other organizations, start to have personal assistants as assistants, the kind of way you kind of say be my eyes, but in the physical form where you can, have agencies for personal assistants that are targeted to specifically go and help people with a disability, and that's the source of revenue in itself. So that's kind of where my mindset is thinking in that kind of sense. And as well as that, I haven't, this one is a bit different, but I still am into real estate, so I started building before I couldn't stay, and now I'm aiming to hopefully at least finish, to at least have one flat, because will be working for me even if I can't go into the world, and as I said, the world is now online, so if I can continue to push that, that'd be awesome.
Wow. Thank you for, you're very busy. You're very, very busy. This is so nice. So can you just walk us through how you do your workout sessions, right? So how do you set it up? And I imagine you have clients from all over, because it's not just a physical location, right? You can connect virtually. How are you able to modify that to be able to get what you want out of it, and your clients as well?
Okay, so kind of like what we're doing right now is just kind of talking over the phone. As I'll go back and write on your coattails where you say, be my eyes. So in a sense, I kind of birthed that. And it's as opposed to the client being my eyes, I ask them to, they become my eyes, shall I say, sorry. So we jump on a call and they'll describe their surroundings to me. Of course, we'll have an onboard call beforehand, and then they'll describe their surroundings. The beauty of this, I like to say, you've kind of got like a coach in your pocket, because you can carry me anywhere you go around the world. Sure. And because I've been in the gym so much, there's not a piece of gym equipment that I don't know, So if we're training from the gym, we got this. If we're training from home, that's fine. And I've even started training people in the swimming pool over the phone. Wow. So, you find we jump on no vision, but I try so people can kind of see beforehand, like on YouTube, to say, hey, this is what I'm going to be doing. These are the actions I'm talking about. But for now, we speak just like we're speaking. They'll describe the scenarios, and more, you'll be amazed what I can do with just a step and a wall, for example. So, if people don't have that equipment, we'll work with what we have. We'll modify something where you'll be amazed that with a step, you can do steps there, you can do press ups there, you can do shoulder taps on the step, you can do everything. You can even do aerobics on just that single step. With the wall, you can do wall push-ups, you can do triceps on the wall as well. So there's so much that you can do. And of course, we're not going to forget the floor, so you can do your ab workouts there as well. So just that in itself, you can get a proper workout just in 1 hour. Yeah. And if they have more equipment, then that's just even more fun, because then we have a good time. So it will just be describing something, describe the movement. And after that, if they need guidance, I'll describe it even further. And then we go from there. And just by hearing their sounds of how they're doing their reps, and obviously count for me, so I'll know the reps that they're doing, and I'll be able to tell if they're cheating by the sounds of their breath. By how they breathe, I'll be able to say, hey, you're not breathing hard enough. You should at least be panting right now, and you're not. So you should get it.
Again, it goes back to your hearing, overcompensating for that. Yes. I kind of knew the answer to that question, but I wanted to be able to break it down, and so they can hear, for those that might be in this situation, to be able to hear that you can still have a life outside of, whatever you're going through. Yes, it's difficult. Yes, it's not what you've been used to. And this is why I wanted to bring Coach Sydney on the podcast, to encourage, us as well, that our purpose in life can still be fulfilled despite what, life has thrown at us, right? So thank you for that reminder and for the practical solutions you provided. So as a wind up, I had a couple of closing out questions. Do you have any fears or doubts, about your future? And if you do, what has that been like for you?
At the beginning, I did have some fears, obviously, kind of think, as I said, how it's going to go. But right now, to be perfectly honest with you, I appreciate every single day, and I go all the way back to kind of think, maybe I wouldn't. So I kind of think, if this is my last day, let me live it to the fullest. So I think when you think like that, I think you kind of leave no room for fear, because I think, we're always going to be fearful, because the future is always unknown. We're always chasing it, and we're never going to catch it, sadly. And the past is something we can never change. So when you live for now, then you don't know today's your last day, So I think if you live with fear, once you learn to do that, and I think sometimes if you're scared, make fear be something that makes you excited, to kind of think, okay, I'm a bit nervous, I'm a bit scared, but it's because it's something important to me, as opposed to fear and I'm never going to try it. So I think try anything and chase your dreams, because the only thing you can do is fail, but at least when you fail, you know now how not to do it,
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. I have a family member who is on the verge of losing their eyesight. They've actually been declared legally blind. And I remember when I had that conversation with them, it was they're still trying so hard to be able to accept that diagnosis. They're not allowed to drive. They have to use a special kind of transportation. And I think what they struggled with the most was the cane. For them, it was almost like a confirmation that, no, this is not just what I've been going through, but now everybody's going to know. And they're also on the younger side. So I guess my question for you would be, how did you overcome just that? Because now it's almost like outing yourself, right? And making it obvious. Yeah. How did you overcome, the resistance or even the challenge when it came to using a cane?
Okay. When it comes to using a cane, I totally understand. I can totally relate to anybody who may be feeling that way, because you have said it, you're right. It's like you're outing yourself, and it now makes it obvious for everybody, But at the end of the day, you just got to realize, how long are you going to stay in the shadows for? Before you have to do it. That's, you got to realize for now, that's the only mode of movement, so you can either sit in the house and get depressed and, the problem with also idle sitting, it brings on so many other diseases. Now, instead of you having just one problem with your eyes, you've got more problems with like obesity and depression and all those kind of things. It's better you get moving. And at the end of the day, when you're outed, it's better at least people know than they don't know, because then you'll be surprised. People actually now be willing to help you more. As opposed to that fear to kind of think people will laugh at you. So that's the kind of fear that I had as well. So I can totally relate. But when you do go out here and there, people are actually more inclined to help you because they'll move out the way for you. Hey, can I give you a hand here and there? And I think once you also realize it's okay to get help, then it's okay. I think a lot of people want to be strong and say you can do it on your own. You can't. Some things you can, but there's nothing wrong with getting some help here and there from somebody, if somebody wants to guide you across the road. If you're in Africa, and I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, there's no like zebra crossings everywhere. It's just good luck. Try to cross the road and don't get back.
Oh my goodness. I remember many years ago when I was still living in Nigeria, they did like an interview of people walking, and they found out that zebra crossings, a lot of motorists weren't honoring pedestrians. And they pulled one over and asked him, hey, why don't you stop for pedestrians? This is zebra crossing. And I said, I don't see any zebras crossing. These are human beings, not zebras crossing. And I was like, trust Nigerians. They always find a way to twist words and all that. Just going to be a little bit of a dicey question, but I believe you're up to the challenge. So you've talked about a lot of things you've gained, and how you've been able to really hyper modify your environment and also keep your spirit up, which I think is something we can all learn from you. What have you lost, would you say? And along that line would be, I feel like we take a lot of things for granted, and until life really pushes your button, before you realize that, man, I shouldn't have let that person go, or I should have done this, I should have done that. For those who might still fall, and this is actually my question for you, how can we make the best of what we have? Because I remember what you said earlier on about when you went to bed, you didn't realize that was going to be your last night. What would you have done differently, as far as if you knew it was going to be the next day? How would you have lived that last night differently?
Okay, great question. For me, I like this. I like the simple things, So if I was to live that night differently, to be honest with you, I would just kind of spend it with loved ones, kind of build a visual bank. You know what I mean? Because, this is dark, but the worst thing is when forever, I know now, at least for now, the image I have of my mom will always be that image. The image I have of my daughter is always going to be a 6-year-old girl. You know what I'm trying to say? It's just, that's it. That's all I'm going to ever have. I can feel her face, but that's the image I have. So I would definitely look at everything, like the simplest things. And I mean like looking at trees. I mean looking at birds. I mean, looking at the stars, of course, because I'm a stargazer. So I would have done all those kind of things and tried to create a visual bank, and just try to just appreciate everything. And more, I'll tell you something real quick. When you lose your vision, like the other day, I found a note. I found money, and I didn't realize I had put it somewhere. And when you come across money, you're so excited. You know what I mean? You're like, oh, this is awesome. Yes. And you're thinking, oh, cool, I've got some money, And in your mind, it's the idea that you have money, right? Until I asked my brother, because my phone was charging, so I couldn't check on my phone to see what note it was. And I asked my brother, what is this? And I'll just pull it for everybody who knows dollar, because everybody is very conversant with dollar. It was more or less like you just pulled out a $1, but in your mind, you think you found $100. You know what I mean? But there's only $1. And then when you kind of get sad, but you don't realize to say, look, all you're touching is paper at the end of the day. There's so many other meaningful, it can be what you want it to be, basically. But for me, I would definitely just see everything, visual bank, and just spend time with family and loved ones. Because if it's my last day, I know tomorrow I'm not going to see them again for a while, physically.
Yeah. Wow. That's the key here, is to take every day like a gift and make the best of it, because we just never know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
For those that might be listening who might be at the brink of designing interventions that would help improve the lived experiences of those with glaucoma or even vision impairment, what do you think are some questions we should be asking about effective interventions to improve the quality of life of those living with glaucoma? What are some of the answers you'd like to find, and what kind of questions those researchers should be asking your community?
Cool. I think like the researchers, first of all, let's kind of find out where this comes from. You know what I mean? Where it starts from as a beginning, because we're at the very early stage, and this is, the smart people, in the States and the UK. We don't know where this comes from. Yes, they can have hypotheticals, but nobody knows where it comes from. So we need to be asking that question, number one. And number two, I think we need to now also be thinking, say, okay, how can we combat this? Because it's such a difficult disease, Mo, that it's difficult because it's tricky. It affects the optic nerve, which is completely attached to your brain. So just that in itself is difficult in itself, So how can we think of ways to either regenerate the optic nerve? And if that cannot be done, how can we think of ways to bypass the optic nerve, where you can use artificial intelligence, for example, to come in. But I just think we should really be asking ourselves this question to say, how can we fix this? First of all, where does it come from? How can we avoid it? And how can we fix this? And if there isn't a way to fix it, I believe there's always an answer somewhere. If you can't do it just by regenerating the nerves on its own, then bypass it. You know what I mean? And I don't know how we would. I'm not like as smart as everybody else, but if you bypass it and connect wherever the nerves go and attach to the brain, and see what we can do from that, and have the use of artificial intelligence where the brain ultimately will paint a picture of what they're seeing. So just like a camera sees it, your brain will know, say, oh, I'm looking at a tree,
Yeah. Wow. So knowing the causes and then also being able to modify, the environment. Yeah. Wow. Lastly would be, you talked about an event you're having. Can you, if you're at liberty to share with us, and how can we support you?
Cool. So the event I'm having, awesome. It's a fitness-based event. The community that I live in doesn't do a lot of fitness events. So if we recently just had our first marathon, official marathon, believe it or not. So we've got a lot of ground to cover, but at the end of the day, I feel that there's a lot of potential. So the event is going to be fitness based, to target to celebrate fitness, because I think fitness is a cure for so many diseases. And on top of that, now to use that same event to shine a light on glaucoma and people living with a disability. So we'll be taking donations, and the donations will be going to help the Zambia National Association of the Blind, and the Association of People Living with Disabilities in Zambia. So that will be awesome, where we can collect donations on that, as well as that, those donations will go and aid in terms of us getting the IOP machines, where for the testing the pressure.
Eyes, yeah.
So we can get the interlocular pressure and other things where we can test for glaucoma, which is also, as you rightly mentioned, something that leads to blindness. So at the actual event, we'll be doing things like that, where we can screen you for free. You know, you check your pressures, you check your glaucoma, you check your diabetes, and of course your your blood pressure. But again, it's in a fun way, because at the end of the day, we're also celebrating fitness, which is a passion of mine. So there'll be fitness competitions going on, but at the same time, there will be subliminal measures of glaucoma everywhere. So the hope is at the end of the event, people at least will know what the word glaucoma is. If they don't, they'll definitely know how to spell it. So, so we continue shining lights on this. And all those donations will go a long way in acquiring all these equipments, and it will allow us to now continue to go around the country, hopefully, but at least definitely our community, and start to sensitize people on what glaucoma is and also get them tested.
Okay. Thank you so much. We would love to support you on the podcast. So once your donation link comes live, please send it to us, and whatever ways we can also help increase visibility and awareness of your cause, we'll be more than happy to come into that for you, Coach Sydney.
Thank you so much. I'll definitely do that. And any help that you guys can do, I would appreciate. That would be amazing.
Thank you. And before you go, for listeners, how can they contribute to your advocacy? Also support, your cause, just on the general, not just your events, but how can, especially those that might be in your immediate environment in Zambia, or even listeners who are listening, how can they contribute to your advocacy against, glaucoma, or even support you?
Okay. I think as a definite start would be, at least, you can follow me on the socials. So I'm at K28 Fitness. All one word, K28 Fitness. That's on Facebook and Instagram. As well as that, there's Let There Be Sight. Let There Be Sight. That's on Facebook and Instagram as well. And you find reaching, at least supporting those for a start, at least getting a following, because you find anything that we'll be doing, we'll be posting it there. And if anybody's interested in any further information, they can either DM us. I'm very quick at responding. So you can just shoot us a DM.
He's very quick. I'll say that. Yes. Confirmed. It's so responsive. He puts me to shame.
So we can keep talking and keep the conversation going. So they can come on the platforms, and the aim is to grow and continue growing. I pray one day, at some point this year, we'll have a website, and the website will be so cool, because at least they need to have everything in one nutshell, like a one-stop shop. So if we can get that done, then that'll be awesome. But for now, growing the community where we will do this together, following and supporting the pages, and if anything else, more information, you can DM us, and we can continue to chat over the DMs. You can also get my number through the DMs, and we can just talk and continue to see what we can do in terms of helping and continue to shine a light on this disease that has no cure. But for now, even if it doesn't have a cure, we're definitely going to fight it, and people will know about it.
Yes. Wow. How beautiful. I remember the episode you did with, and I forget his name, the other podcaster as well. I think he's Zambian.
Zach.
Yeah, Zach. Yes. Shout out to him, by the way. That was a very great episode. It actually provided a lot of inspiration for my questions. I didn't want to ask all the questions he had asked, because I wanted him I wanted to give credit to him as well. So I'll make sure to tag that in my show note as a resource for people to go listen. You talked about a special lady in your life. How's that going, by the way?
It's going good. It's going really good.
Yeah. Okay, good. It's good
awesome. I think when you can realize that, then that's amazing. Yeah,
that's good. Really good. That's encouraging to hear. All right. Well, I just want to say, this was worth it. I know we've been trying to find a good time that would have worked, and there was a holiday in between, and having to make you go all the way to town to be able to get a good network. Thank you so much. Like a good cup of tea. It sits very well, and it was very, very nutritious. Thank you for giving of yourself, of your time, and healthy oodles of inspiration into our day, and reminding us that life is worth living. And regardless of what has been thrown our way, life is worth living. And not just living, but thriving. Thanks for showing us just the practicality behind your life, and the support system you have, and how you've been able to tap into those. And that started with you asking, how can I do it, but who can help me, right? And I think that's a lesson. I learned a lot from you, but that's one of the lessons I'm going to leave with me today, is to make sure that I don't wallow in my self-pity and reach out to my community, because we're not supposed to do that.
I love that.
So thank you so much for that, Coach Sydney. And looking forward to hearing more about your event. Like I said earlier, I'll be more than happy to support your cause. So let us know once that goes live, and we'll do our part as well. And I'd love to bring you back, perhaps in the nearest future.
I'd love to be back.
Yes, to talk about more great things you're doing, because I know this is just the beginning for you. So cannot wait to even hear more of your ventures as well. But thank you so much. On behalf of everyone on the podcast, we say thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. And please say me thank you to your brother for helping facilitate this. Really, really thank him for his help.
I will.
All right. And I hope you have a safe trip back home. I'll be in touch, okay?
No problem. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Coach Sydney.
Bye.
All right. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for being on the podcast with us today. This has just been a great time to be here and just hear a lot about what we've been up to. This, I don't know, I feel so humbled and inspired by his story. And I imagine that it wasn't very easy getting to this point. But he left me with a lot of consideration to keep living life and not letting all the inconveniences hold me back. And I hope that was the same for you as well. If you're listening to this, perhaps you find yourself in a similar situation. We hope you've been encouraged by this episode. But feel free to reach out to Coach Sydney if you want. I'll put his contact details in the show notes. But as a reminder, don't forget to do your health checkup, please. Your eyes, your teeth, do your blood test and check everything. Make sure your blood pressure is good, your cholesterol is good. Here's your reminder if you're needing one. Please go get your health check done. As always, I am your host. Love you all, and thank you so much for tuning in today. Bye for now. This has been the More Sibyl Podcast.